My friends, the conversation around the New England Patriots defense has taken another interesting turn, and this time it is backed by rankings that are giving Patriots fans plenty of reasons to feel optimistic heading into the new season. While so much attention across the league has been focused on explosive offenses and superstar quarterbacks, one respected football analyst has once again placed the Patriots defense among the very best units in the NFL. That is not happening by accident, and when you take a closer look at the roster, it becomes much easier to understand why expectations are growing. One of the biggest talking points comes from Warren Sharp's latest defensive rankings, where the Patriots received outstanding recognition for their secondary. According to those rankings, New England enters the season with the 5th best secondary in the entire NFL. Even though 5th place is already an impressive accomplishment considering the amount of talent around the league, there is a strong argument that this group deserves to be ranked even higher. When you break down the personnel, the confidence becomes obvious. Everything starts with Christian Gonzalez. Whenever he has been healthy, he has looked exactly like the type of shutdown corner every championship contender hopes to build around. His impact goes far beyond simply covering one receiver. The numbers show that opposing quarterbacks have a much harder time moving the football whenever Gonzalez is on the field. Opponents averaged only 6.3 yards per passing attempt with him playing, compared to 7.9 yards whenever he was unavailable. That difference is enormous over the course of an entire season because it changes how offenses attack the Patriots defense from the very first snap. His individual production only strengthens the argument. Gonzalez allowed an incredibly low completion percentage of just 39.3%, one of the best marks recorded over the last several seasons among qualifying defensive backs. Those are elite numbers by every standard, and they explain why so many people believe the Patriots already have one of football's premier lockdown corners. It is also why there continues to be growing anticipation surrounding a possible contract extension. From everything shown on the field, Gonzalez has already proven he is capable of becoming the long-term cornerstone of this secondary. Of course, one great cornerback alone does not create an elite defensive backfield. The Patriots have surrounded Gonzalez with plenty of additional talent. Carlton Davis steps into the number 2 cornerback role, giving New England another experienced player capable of matching up against quality receivers. While his previous season had moments of inconsistency, there were also performances that demonstrated exactly why the Patriots wanted him on this defense. Having 2 experienced outside corners immediately gives defensive coordinator Zach Core far more flexibility when designing coverages each week. Then there is Marcus Jones, who continues to receive enormous praise for everything he brings to the defense. His versatility remains one of the biggest strengths of this roster. As a nickel cornerback, Jones is capable of covering receivers, stopping the run, and even creating pressure as a blitzer. His production last season reflected that complete skill set. He finished with 11 pass breakups, 65 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, and even added sacks while consistently making plays all over the field. That type of versatility is extremely difficult to replace, and it explains why many believe he has developed into one of the NFL's very best nickel defenders. The safety position may actually complete what could become one of the deepest secondaries in football. Craig Woodson enters the season after an impressive rookie campaign that included a strong postseason showing. His development gives the Patriots another young defensive back capable of making impact plays, and expectations are growing that he could take another major step forward this year. Alongside him is veteran Kevin Byard, one of the most accomplished additions the Patriots made during the offseason. Surprisingly, his arrival has not generated as much attention as some other moves around the league, despite the fact that he is coming off an all-pro season. Last year, Byard recorded 7 interceptions while also proving he remains effective against the run. He finished with 93 total tackles and 17 defensive stops, showing that his value extends well beyond simply creating turnovers. His leadership, experience, and ability to read opposing quarterbacks immediately raise the ceiling of this entire defense. Those individual pieces become even more impressive when viewed together. Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, Marcus Jones, Craig Woodson, and Kevin Byard form a defensive backfield filled with experience, versatility, and proven production. That combination is exactly why the Patriots received such a high ranking entering the season. Perhaps the most impressive statistic supporting this optimism comes from Pro Football Focus. According to their defensive grades from last season, the Patriots were the highest graded secondary in the NFL. While several respected defenses finished with grades in the 80s, New England stood alone as the only secondary to earn a grade in the 90s. That is a remarkable accomplishment considering the quality of competition across the league, and provides another layer of evidence that this unit is capable of carrying the defense once again. There is, however, one major factor that could determine whether all of this potential becomes reality. Health remains absolutely critical. Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, and Carlton Davis staying on the field together throughout the season would allow this secondary to maintain the chemistry needed to consistently frustrate opposing passing attacks. If that happens, there is every reason to believe the Patriots could finish the year with one of the league's most feared defensive backfields. The confidence surrounding this group continues to grow because the talent is no longer based on projections alone. It is supported by production, advanced metrics, respected league-wide evaluations, and a collection of players who complement each other exceptionally well. For a Patriots defense looking to re-establish itself among the NFL's elite, everything appears to be in place for the secondary to become the foundation of that success. Do you believe this secondary truly deserves to be considered the best in the entire NFL, or do you think there is still another defense that should be ranked ahead of the Patriots? Another ranking from Warren Sharp may not generate the same excitement as the secondary, but it still paints a very encouraging picture of where this Patriots defense stands entering the season. While New England earned elite recognition in the defensive backfield, the front seven also cracked the league's top 10, coming in at number 10 overall. That placement says quite a bit about how much talent exists on this defensive roster, but it also highlights an area where there is still room for improvement. Looking at the defensive front, there is no question where the biggest strength lies. The interior defensive line has the potential to become one of the most dominant groups in football. The combination of Milton Williams and Christian Barmore gives the Patriots two disruptive defensive linemen capable of changing games from the inside. Interior pressure has become one of the most valuable assets in today's NFL because quarterbacks are becoming increasingly difficult to contain outside the pocket. Having defenders who can collapse the middle of the offensive line forces quarterbacks into uncomfortable situations before routes have time to fully develop. That is exactly why there is so much excitement surrounding this pairing. Milton Williams arrives with the reputation of being an explosive defensive lineman, while Christian Barmore has already shown flashes of becoming one of the league's most disruptive interior defenders when healthy. Together, they give the Patriots a foundation that very few teams can match inside. The conversation becomes a little more complicated once attention shifts toward the edge rushers. Harold Landry and Dre'Mont Jones provide experience and versatility, but there are still legitimate questions about whether this group can consistently compete with some of the elite pass rushing units around the league. One of the biggest concerns revolves around Harold Landry's health. Staying available throughout the season will be extremely important because the Patriots need his experience and production off the edge. Dre'Mont Jones has proven himself to be a solid player, someone capable of making important contributions throughout a game, but the expectation is not that he will suddenly become one of the NFL's truly dominant edge rushers. When comparing New England's edge group to some of the league's premier pass rushing units, there is still a noticeable gap that needs to be closed. The roster does include young players with developmental potential, but experience remains somewhat limited. Gabe Backus was drafted to help strengthen the position, yet he had still not signed his rookie contract at the time these discussions were taking place. Until that process is completed and he begins working consistently within the system, it becomes difficult to project exactly how quickly he can contribute. Another intriguing name is Elijah Ponder, who joined the Patriots as an undrafted free agent. There is certainly optimism about his future, but expectations remain realistic. Undrafted players often need time to develop before becoming reliable contributors, and asking someone in that situation to immediately solve a team's pass rushing concerns would place enormous pressure on a young player. As things currently stand, the Patriots appear to have only 3 true rotational edge defenders available, making depth one of the biggest questions facing this defense entering the season. The linebacker position also remains an area that deserves attention. Robert Spillane brings plenty of reasons for optimism. His physical style of play and ability to contribute against the run make him an important addition to the defense. However, beyond Spillane, the depth chart becomes much less certain. Christian Ellis has shown flashes but continues searching for greater greater consistency. Jahlani Tavai is no longer part of the roster, creating another opening that has yet to be completely filled. KJ. Britt arrives primarily with a reputation as a valuable special teams contributor, while 6th round draft pick Anoka Obiazor represents another young player with developmental upside. Chad Muma also remains part of the linebacker group, giving New England additional depth, but the overall feeling is that another experienced linebacker could still strengthen this unit. That is why one veteran name continues to stand out as a possible fit. Bobby Okereke remains available, and his recent production makes him an interesting option. Over the past several seasons, he consistently produced more than 100 tackles, demonstrating both durability and reliability, although his numbers were not identical to his outstanding 2023 campaign, when he totaled 149 tackles and 11 tackles for loss. He has continued to prove that he can be a productive defender capable of handling significant responsibilities. There is another reason why Okereke makes sense from a football perspective. He has a connection with Shane Bowen, who has now joined the Patriots coaching staff as a defensive assistant. Familiarity with a coach can often help shorten the adjustment period when learning a new defensive system, making the transition much smoother if a signing were ever to happen. Even without another addition though, there are already plenty of reasons for Patriots fans to feel encouraged. The secondary appears capable of matching up with any receiving corps in the NFL. The interior defensive line has the talent to dominate games. Veterans such as Kevin Byard, Robert Spillane, Harold Landry, and Carlton Davis bring valuable experience, while younger players like Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, Marcus Jones, Craig Woodson, and others continue developing into major building blocks for the